Okay, we are now entering into the meeting in progress that is for the Finance Committee taking place on August 5th, 2020.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Anything else on the to move on before I call the vote on the May and June financials?
Nothing more on my end.
All right. As there are no further questions, I'm calling the vote for approval. Joe?
Aye.
Biggie?
Aye.
Dr. Jones?
Aye.
Frank is also an aye. Motion carries. We're coming now to item B. Again, we need a motion and a second to move forward before we discuss it. Approval of unaudited financial. Do I have a motion?
I move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, the floor is yours, Dr. Jones.
So the unaudited financials are what we have at the end of the year, obviously before they're audited. They're not audited each year until that process finishes around December. But it's a really important financial point in the year, which takes the end of the year and says, okay, this is where we're at. We just looked at the basis of the unaudited financials, which will be presented to the board at the board meeting coming up on the 12th. I'm going to let Ryan kind of run through that and how it's set up, but we just saw the preview of the unaudited actuals from the June and the June financials. So Ryan?
Yeah, so what we basically do at the end of the year is we have to provide LAUSD with our financials. So we're going to take them out of the form that you just saw and put them into their template through the SACS software online. And what LAUSD is then going to do is check what we submitted against what actually happened after the audit is completed. They want to make sure that we know what we're doing. So we typically have no audit adjustments at year end. We're not anticipating any, but it's basically same as our first interim, second interim, where we have to take our financials, put them in a template for LAUSD to review. And what we are going to be doing is submitting the financials that we presented to you today. However, there was a couple missing parts that we're still waiting on. One is a vacation accrual from the school, as well as one more invoice. But we don't anticipate that to be more than a $20,000 impact to the 35K net income. So we still plan to have a balanced budget at year end.
For 2019-20.
Yeah, so we are not, so then we don't issue a recommendation to the board because we haven't seen the actual document.
No, but that's correct. You haven't seen the actual document.
Right. So, but I mean, we can, once the document, we'll just have to table the vote then.
Yeah, I think that based on the information that we had from the previous presentation, just know that there's not going to be any differences from what you just saw. But yes, we can table it, and I can explain that when we present to the board on the 12th, the unaudited actuals, because we will be bringing that to the board on the 12th.
Perfect. Let me do. I'm personally in agreement, but let me check with the other finance committee members. Joe, what's your opinion on that? Are you okay with that?
Oh, waiting with it? Yeah.
Okay, good. Biggie?
Fine.
Yep. Okay. So no action taken for recommendation, and so we'll move on to the next item then.
Great. And just to be clear, though, I will be bringing that forward to the board.
Understood.
It won't have a clear direction from the finance committee, but
understood.
We can reviewed everything that goes into it.
Yep. Okay. We have reviewed and we know what the delta, what the swing could be.
That's fine.
Then we have a couple of items where we don't actually take action on, which is items C, D, E, F, and F. And it's all Dr. Jones. So I'll hand it over to you and your floor. Thank you.
Which is the first one? I don't have it up right now.
The first one is the budget update 2020-21.
Okay. So we just went through a very grueling process of budgeting at the end of the year. And I want to be sure we kind of understand where we're at in this process, because it's a very political process. We based our budget and the assumptions that we did on the governor's May revise, which is the governor's revision of what he does back in January. And obviously January is so long ago, it's hard to even fathom where that was, but it certainly didn't play into what his thinking was in May. So initially we had plotted basically a negative 10% scenario, which we were working through. And then when we got to the final calculations on that, it was about a negative 8 that we were planning for in terms of income. And subsequent to our passing of the budget, the state legislature, who does make the final decision about budgeting, they did something very different, and they did not follow the governor's May revise. What they did, and I'll say that I'm personally not too happy with what they did from a big picture standpoint, because they basically pushed the problem further down the road. They did what's called deferrals. So they, instead of cutting money, they said, we're just not going to pay you money until later, but you will get that money. So they created a system of deferrals to push the payments out, some of which may not come in this coming year. For us personally at Goethe, we have enough in our accounts to weather the year. And so Ryan and I have looked at that, and we feel like we're in a pretty good place because of that. There is still a ton of uncertainty that is out there because of what's happening. We all watch what's happening in the economy, and specifically the California economy. So we're not out of the woods. We are not in a place where everything's great, but because the legislature did approve, they did not do the negative 8%. They did a flat, no COLA, but a same amount of payment. So what I'm, as a result of this, we want to bring to the board a budget revision, one that revises the amount of income with the budget that we put in, and then also to make a recommendation to take away the thing that we said we would take away first if money somehow materialized. I think when we were expecting federal money to come in, not just deferrals, but nonetheless, that money is there in the budget. And so we want to eliminate the furloughs. That was the first thing we said we would work towards. And so that's something I'm going to be pushing, putting before the board at the coming meeting, is that we would have an elimination of furloughs, which we already did some furloughs. The administration are the only ones who've been affected by it so far. In July, the other 3 administrators each had 1 day, and I had 2 days of furloughs in July. I am already taking off the furlough in August, which was before school started, and we didn't have any others that were planned until October. But I am going to bring forth on the 12th a budget revision, which would include the elimination of furloughs for the year. It doesn't mean we couldn't go back to them if we had to for some reason, but that's where we think we're at this point. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand things over to Ryan. If there's anything that I didn't share with regard to the budget or changes that have happened since our last board meeting when we met and finalized and approved the budget. Ryan?
No, I mean you summarized it rather well. I mean the information changed. The governor's proposal to cut funding didn't happen, and instead it was replaced with deferrals. So for a school that doesn't have any money in the bank, as far as cash goes, it's great that you have your revenue, but they're not able to weather the storm during a deferral. You guys luckily have enough of a cash cushion where if they pay you a couple months late, you might be okay. So at the end of the day, your revenue increased by quite a bit. So all of the items that we were needing to cut in response to the proposal from the governor, we really don't need to take such drastic measures.
So let me clarify what quite a bit means, because I want to be specific. We anticipate with the governor's changes in income, the budget that we created would have about a $250,000 to the positive. Elimination of furloughs eliminates about 162,000 from that. And that brings us down to a place where we're in the positive, but it's an amount that we're going to need to hold against what I think is going to be a downward economy. So I don't want to start thinking, oh, great, there's money. This is still a very delicate situation, but I do feel confident that we can protect the $162,000 that we had set aside to have furloughs that would have been a savings that we can put back for our staff, teachers, administration, everybody, and make them whole. We are still at we did not get a COLA, and we are still at the exact same spot we'd be at last year, but we're not getting cuts for the staff that are here. So that's where we stand and what we'll be presenting at the upcoming board meeting. So any questions on that?
Joe?
No, none for me.
Can I just point out one other thing with this budget model? Each month during our board meetings, we're focused on what our end of month average daily attendance is, what our total enrollment for the year is. As part of this distance learning and this funding for next year, what they said is that we're going to cap you at the prior year's average daily attendance rate. So, what that means is, our enrollment targets, we still want to hit them. All right. Average daily attendance percentage, we still want to hit it as far as our target goes. However, whether we're above or below, it's not going to have an impact on our revenue. We're capped at the prior year.
Yeah, and that's a hotly debated issue. In fact, the governor made a very specific direction when he approved the budget, said, fix that problem, but it hasn't been fixed yet. And it may not get fixed. And that hurts us because we are growing. We're not growing by a lot, but we are growing. And so it's an issue that it means, a ton more enrollment may not help us in the short term. It will always help us, though, in the long term.
What's the expected enrollment this upcoming year?
School.
What's the upcoming enrollment this coming year?
So the budget was based on 420 students, which was a slight increase of 4 students from our our February 29th date, which was the cutoff of when we get paid for last year. And that's the same date that they're proposing is the number we use for this year. So we stand to start the year at a -4 budget. Students, 4 less students being paid for than we budgeted for, and we're likely to have more than that. Our numbers are holding pretty steady. We don't know until day 1 or even day 2 and day 3 of where we really stand in enrollment, because people say one thing and do another. So we'll know that, shortly after school starts of what our real enrollment is, but it may be a moot point if we don't even get funding for it. It's now I'll be political. It's absolutely absurd that that the legislature chose to do that, and they did it specifically to harm charter schools. So just be aware that this is a hot button political issue, and we're going to be out sending some things out to families about charter school issues in general, and asking to get a little more politically involved in the bigger picture, because there's folks out there that are really trying to put a stop to new charter schools and make it extremely difficult for existing charter schools to exist. And we want to be out there on the political front lines of that.
Biggie?
I'm good, thank you.
So I have a hard time comprehending this. The first time I hear this. So even though we may have an enrollment of 500, let's say hypothetically of 500, which we're not, but you know, we're getting paid on the ADA we had last year, and it's frozen.
Yep.
I realize the incredulity of your voice. It's because it's
Yeah.
ridiculous, but that's exactly what the
Right.
law says. That's what the budget says.
Wow. Okay.
So then
Well-
how does that, I mean, obviously I understand how that affects us, but how does that affect only charter schools versus traditional public schools that have growing enrollment?
It's a great question. It does affect district schools as well, but the percentage of district schools that are actually growing is minuscule. The percentage of charter schools that are growing is huge. So this was, it was written in
Understood.
specifically to protect schools with declining enrollment and harm schools with growing enrollment. And by and large, those schools are charter schools.
Okay. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Wow.
There may be a political fix in the horizon, but there isn't so far.
Not immediately. Okay, we just need to capture the amount. I mean, on the other side, if our enrollments, for what reason soever, drops to 200, we're getting paid for 400. I mean, there's a hedge to the battle here, right?
Yeah, you know, basically the good news is we budgeted 420, and our number as of last year was 416 at the February 29th date. So at worst, we lose 4 ADA. And this previous year, we lost 19 ADA. We were hoping to grow, you know, and have it be a positive on the budget. So we'll monitor this closely, obviously, as we go forward. It's a really important point.
Yeah, please provide for the August 12th meeting, please provide, a little bit of a narrative around it, so that the board members can wrap their heads around it prior to the meeting. Because it's like when you hear this the first time, you say, what? How's this possible?
Yeah, I'll do that in my ED report.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Jones, if that concludes the budget, item number 2 would be spring consolidated application update. 5 minutes.
This will be less than that.
Okay.
We are applying this year for the first time for Title II and Title IV funding. And so there'll be something going before the board at some point, and I'm not sure. I've got to talk with Ryan of whether that'll be in August. And I think it will need to be. But the consolidated application is how we get those funds. And I think that the date of application is due on the 17th of August. Is that correct, Ryan?
17th, correct.
Yeah, so we're working on that, but I just wanted to at least bring it up and have you be aware of it. But if that shows up on the board agenda, that's what it's about.
Title II and Title IV funding for it, then just put a little explanation on what it is,
Sure.
just a little paragraph.
Title II funding is funding that is provided for any type of professional development, and Title IV is for any kind of innovative programs, so servicing of students. And you can follow me on this one, Ryan, you can take Title II money and move it into Title IV if you have leftover.
And vice versa. Yeah.
Vice versa. It's the other way around?
No, either way, if you need.
Oh, you can do it either way.
What you can
Okay, I thought it was
say,
just one way.
you can transfer a portion of your funding from one bucket to the other.
Perfect. So we'll follow that as the year progresses. But it's just it's new income source that we've not utilized before. It's probably going to be total maybe $20,000, but that's $20,000.
Agreed. No further, any further question? Please raise your hands regarding the matter. Joe,
None for me.
Biggie,
None.
Dr. Jones, no further comments? Okay, I have no further questions as well. Item number E, Dr. Jones, 15 minutes LCAP update.
It won't be 15 minutes either, so that's good to know. I just want to give you an idea of where we're at with the local control accountability plan, and that has basically been put on hold because of the variety of laws, including SB 98, which specifically says how distance learning will be rolled out. So the LCAP, as it was known, is on hold and not required in the coming year. So enter LCAP 2, which is called a Learning Continuity
Accountability plan.
Accountability Plan. I knew it had some A in there. So then they named it the same thing, which really makes for confusion, but I'm not going to question Sacramento's logic. This new plan is required. They have not given us the format yet, the full template on it. That won't come till the end of August. It's due in a board meet. It's due in September, and it requires not only passage at a board meeting, but it also requires a public hearing at a board meeting, a separate board meeting, both of them regular board meetings with 72 hours notice. Therefore, we are going to be adding a board meeting in September because of this, because we have no other choice. So we'll have a single, probably for the passage of it, we'll do the public hearing at our regular board meeting, and then we'll set another regular board meeting for later in September, and we'll just have it be a single issue and pass it. But we are working with our consultant who works with LCAP for us and keeps us apprised of all this. She is working like crazy. We were supposed to be on a thing with her today, but we're instead going to be on a thing with her tomorrow morning to hear about all the latest of what we have to do for this LCAP, the new LCAP. And the other piece of it that has to be done is, this one's more on Ryan's shoulders because it's in December where we do approval. We have to show what we've spent and give an accounting of all of that in December as part of the other requirements. So 2 big dates coming up, but the big one is that September 30th that we have to have had 2 board meetings prior to that. So any questions on LCAP 1 or LCAP 2?
No,
Joe?
none for me.
No. Biggie?
Nope.
Dr. Jones? No, it's okay. Dr. Jones?
I'm just saying my apologies if these things are confusing, because they're confusing to us.
Right.
This stuff is coming fast and furious.
Right.
And it's coming from 5 different people, agencies telling you what to do and which law to follow. And it's pretty crazy, but we'll sort it out and we'll keep trudging through it. So on to the next.
Okay, I have no comment. Item F, banking services update. If I'm dropping off, I'm going to have to dial in from my cell phone because I'm running out of battery, right, on my iPad. So, Dr. Jones?
Okay, so far so good, Frank. So we'll keep you posted if you drop out. We'll look for you. The banking services that we've done, we're in the process of switching over. We've added the California Credit Union, and we're in the process now of shifting over to that. We want to switch over from Wells Fargo and start moving everything over. Ryan, what are our next steps with regard to shifting of those banking services?
We have a new EFT form that requires signature from a signer. on the account, as well as a board member, I believe, that needs to be submitted to LACO, and that'll divert our revenue payments from the County Office of Education from our Wells Fargo account to our new account. We need to also, once that revenue source is solidified going into CCU, we'll then start transferring over our big obligations, such as payroll. Currently, payroll is tied to Wells Fargo still. We don't want to switch that over until all of our big funding sources are attached to the proper bank. And then those are the big things, but the easier things. Then there's the smaller things, like all of the fundraising tools that we have, making sure that all of those little accounts get switched over with the new ACH and the EFT forms. Typically, this is a process that takes LACO and LAUSD about anywhere from 6 to 9 weeks once they receive the form, sometimes quicker, but it's been about 6 to 9 weeks. And then payroll is instant. Second, we tell them to change the info. It's as quick as that. Accounts payable, we've already transferred some money into the CCU account to fund it. And all payables are coming out of CCU for the 2021 school year at the moment.
Good. That answers my question. I know we made a wire. We made a wire of 500,000 to fund the account, right, Ryan? Am I correct?
That's correct, and that's in order to be able to cover vendor payables for the 2021 school year. We still have a lot in there, but we want to transfer everything over to CC.
Okay, perfect. I'll do the round. Dr. Jones, I hand it over to you because I'm going to log in from the other. Joe, any questions?
Just before you do,
Sure.
What is the next on the agenda?
The next on the agenda is the credit app. That is it's a motion and a second if I'm dropping off, and so you need to run with it. Yeah, I'm going to be dialing in from the other phone. So
Yeah, I'll be looking for you.
okay, perfect.
Just a quick question on CCU. How many accounts are we going to have with CCU? Is it just going to be fundraising and payables? How many total accounts? So we seem to have some redundant ones we don't use in Wells Fargo.
Ryan, any thoughts on that? Is it just a single account? We won't be doing multiple accounts like we had at Wells Fargo?
Just a single account. However, I think, and I could be wrong, but I think some people want to keep the Morgan Stanley account open as a mechanism to receive stock donations if that ever comes about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think that one's causing us any problem. What about the infamous one that is causing us problem? Where are we at with the closure of that one?
It just needs to be closed by the only signer on the account.
Okay.
It's pending that.
Which one is that? The 9129?
Yeah, that's that
Okay.
little investment account with Wells Fargo that just has about 10,000 or so in it.
Okay.
That's the one that usually slows down our reporting.
Yeah.
Okay. And then are we planning with CCU? So it looks like that new one is an operating account. Are we planning to open just like a money market account, just something to hold extra cash in?
I think that would be a good idea. It's easy to sweep it between the two accounts. I think that a money market would be a good idea in order to gain some interest on the money rather than just letting it sit.
Yeah.
Currently,
just safety. Just have having an account with all that cash sitting around, better to move some into a savings account.
Yeah. So what I envision is our current operating checking account at CCU, one money market account at CCU, and if the board wishes, the one Morgan Stanley account, just in case we ever get a stock donation. We haven't since year one, but I guess it's better to have something and not use it than to need it and not have it.
So we should address these matters very shortly. I also think we need to do as we migrating the bank account over. We need to get an online training of transfers and who has authority to transfer money and stuff like that. So we need to from accounts if we open up a money market account. So we just need to work around the online mechanisms of the CCSA.
Sure.
Yeah, well, California Credit Union.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions on the bank accounts?
No.
Biggie,
No, thank you.
I have also no question.
Okay.
Then item, hold on, now I need to operate the phone here.
This was the credit card.
Credit card
That,
application.
with credit card application, do I have can somebody read for me the motion? The end agenda?
Biggie, did you have that down there?
Yeah, it says credit card application through California Credit Union.
Yeah. So do I have a motion?
I move.
Oh, then I second.
Okay. Dr. Jones, your floor.
So what we've run into a problem is that there are many things that we need to purchase, particularly services, that the only way you can do it is with a credit card. And so we've worked around that by having either Biggie or myself or a teacher or whomever purchasing and then getting reimbursement. And we try to avoid reimbursements as much as possible. Having an account would allow us to limit that. We also want to make sure that the credit card itself is limited. And so the only users at this point would be myself or Biggie. And we would be using it for things that we are unable to get except with credit cards. So we wouldn't be using it just for convenience sake. For instance, when we do Amazon, we do that through the system that we have. When we do Office Depot, we do it through the system we have. We would not be using credit card for that. But when we purchased something like MailChimp was an example that we've done for years, and Biggie's put that on her card and then it gets reimbursed. We'd rather not do that, and we'd much rather have it be a school card. And I would be the custodian of the account. And also we would have a $5,000 limit, which is also the limit that I have in terms of spending.
Joe?
No comment. That all sounds reasonable.
Biggie?
No questions. It's long overdue to have it.
Okay. That we're issuing only a recommendation, right? The board finally has to approve that.
Oh yes, yeah. This is
Okay.
just I didn't want there to be any surprises.
Okay,
Well,
good.
One thing, Frank, you may want to consider as far as a recommendation. Typically, I've seen for one card user a limit of anywhere between $2,500 and $5,000. I don't know if that's appropriate or not, based on the needs that you guys may have. But that's typically, what I see as the limit for a credit card holder.
What were those
Yeah.
numbers?
Anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000. Typically for like larger charter management organizations, they have larger thresholds when they have to do professional development, flights, and accommodations for a large number of staff. But
Yeah, I don't see we would need ever to be beyond 5,000, but I would like it to match what the limits are. So in my head, it's the same amounts.
okay.
Okay, I have no question, just a comment. It's a debit card. We're not allowed. We can have a credit card. A debit card is not allowed, based on LAUSD rules. So I'm fine with that. So therefore, I'm calling the vote for. Are we good on the recommendation, Joe?
Aye.
Biggie,
Aye.
Dr. Jones,
Aye.
and I'm an aye too. Biggie, I don't have the agenda in front of me. What's the next one, please?
The next one is approval of setting up a Stripe account for online payments.
So we have used.
Well, hold on. We
sorry.
got to get it on the table.
Correct.
I move.
I'll second.
Good. Dr. Jones, your floor.
Okay. In the past, we've used PayPal, and we're going to plan to continue to use PayPal for collecting of different things. But we are looking to launch a new program in communications. I've talked about it before, which is called Fresh Schools. And Fresh Schools also allows us to consolidate fundraising activities. But they do not use PayPal. They use Stripe, which is the other worldwide competing company on that. And so we are looking to be able to get approval to get that set up so that we can organize it through Fresh Schools and connect with Stripe. There'll be a whole lot of back end stuff that has to be done, but once it's set up, it should be fine. It basically has the same cost factor for a nonprofit that PayPal does, which I believe is 2.2%. And that would be, we would be setting it up and organizing it on the back end and connecting it to our accounts. So we'd like to be able to bring that to the board with recommendation of the finance committee.
Okay, Joe?
No questions from me on that.
Biggie? Comments?
Question. I mean, it's just one more system that will, I don't want to say complicate, but just create more reconciling and more recording of different donations coming in. But since Fresh Schools only works with Stripe, it has to be done. So it's kind of the logical consequence.
Dr. Jones, final comment?
No, I'm good.
Final question for me. When are we planning to launch Fresh School and Stripe?
So we've been doing some work over the summer. It got basically Fresh Schools got put on hold when we were launched into COVID. We were hoping to do something last spring, and it just was too much going on. We are trying to get it launched beginning with our parent engagement night to announce it, and then so within a week from that to launch it with families, and that would be a pushing out to all of our families. We are trying to make sure that everyone is who is enrolled gets it, and that everyone who is not enrolled doesn't get it. So we didn't want to do it before school starts because there's so much change that happens with regard to people coming who don't come or don't come who then show up. So it's we're working on that piece, and we expect to roll it out in would be like the second week, probably actually the beginning of the third week of school.
Okay, good. With that, I'm calling the vote on the recommendation. Joe?
Aye.
Biggie?
Aye.
Dr. Jones?
Aye.
Frank is also an aye. The next agenda item, if I recall it correctly, is new business.
Correct.
Dr. Jones, you want to chime in on new business? What you foresee for the Finance Committee within the next meetings?
We're just trying to get things put together for the coming year. I honestly think we did some hard work at the end of last year, and it's put us in a place where we're not in a panic right now. And so I just expect our work to continue of protecting what we have, watching out for potential problems that are out there, and just kind of riding out this crisis until we really see what kind of fiscal impacts it's going to have on us. I don't think they're all clear yet. And so I do want to keep putting out there. We need to be wary about protecting what we have, holding on to cash, and to make sure that we're doing things fairly and squarely. And with that said, we also want to do right by our people, and that's why I'm going to be pushing forward with the removal of furloughs. So I think that's a big step in the right direction that I hope the board will agree and take action on the 12th. But in terms of our committee, just stay in the course. I think we did the right things and pushed things forward in the spring that had to be done. It was hard and difficult, and I think we did it in as fair and human a way as possible. And it's put us in a place right now where I think we can weather whatever is coming forward. So that's all.
Joe, anything on the new business for the upcoming meetings?
No, yeah, just seconding what Chris said. We just have to be aware that things are going to be really fluid the next few months, and just stay up on them and take them as they come. So thank you, Chris.
Okay. Biggie?
Nothing to add.
I'd like to take, I think with all the fluency in the budget and the financing and the IOUs or deferral or wherever we call them, I think we should, as a finance committee, agree to a roadmap for the following year. Kind of like what our trigger points when we're scheduling our meetings. We're doing it, as special meetings, which is fine with me. Because it gives us more time and flexibility in regards to the actual meeting, because there's a lot of work going in from the administration. But I also wanted to capture us maybe some milestones. Maybe we should capture, on holding ourselves accountable as a finance committee, for example, to move the banking relationship, right? I think that's, it's a big one, which we need to process this year with the credit card. So what my ask is, maybe for the next meeting, the administration can come back with a kind of like an annual roadmap, what we're going to do within the finance committee and the work we're going to do. That's item number one. Item number two, maybe I wanted to increase a little bit the participation of the, maybe broaden the finance committee by 1 or 2 more seats if we can. But I wanted to get the consensus from you guys first within the next meeting, or how we're going to do this and if we're going to do this. But I'd like to see a little bit more participation from the school community, but it's just a comment or things which we should be looking out under in the future.
Yeah, I can bring something back at the next meeting.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it some thought too. But yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe expand participation and add a seat if possible.
Yep.
We need to look specifically to the bylaws on board
Yep.
bylaws on that.
Yep. Okay. If there aren't any further comments, and I don't think there's anything on the agenda, right, Biggie?
Next part is adjournment.
Next comment. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move.
I
I'll
move.
second.
Your second. Then Dr. Jones,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Biggie. We lost Biggie.
Biggie, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Aye.
Yeah, and Frank is an aye. Meeting adjourned at 5:15. Thank you for your participation, and I'll see you shortly.
And thank
Okay.
you to our members
Thank you.
of the public.
See
who
everyone
joined
later.
us. We appreciate
thank you.
having you here.
Yep. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys later.
See you. Chris, when are we meeting tomorrow? We said at
11:30.
11:30. Okay. Have a good night.
Night.